Arhen, the rare and the Volf returned from the forest to the village. The seed-growing plant on the way scattered light, and the ground of the village looked fresh and green at every step. The villagers were amazed because the fields were green again, the animals were calm, and the air smelled of fragrance, the happiness of the village. Then he said to himself, "First of all, son, you have proved that the light of truth and righteousness never fails. It came out of your heart and now illuminates the whole city." The children gathered around Arhen, and they all celebrated together around the illuminated plant. The plant was now growing and shining throughout the field, as if a little light from heaven had fallen on the earth. He reminded everyone the light is never of one person alone. It is hidden in the hearts, and every good intention can increase it. The darkness prevails only when we give up hope and courage. He smiled and said, "And the help of friends always makes the path easier." The Volf, who had now become a faithful companion of Arhen, began to play with the children in the field. New start. After that day, the village of Nurabed was never plunged into darkness. People used to tell stories around the plant of light at night and pass on their stories of goodness to the next generation. The light is always in the heart. You just need to know it. When the children of the village played on moonlit nights, they would always remember. When they saw the light of the plant that behind every darkness, there was a light, just courage and faith, the heart of darkness. As soon as the forest ended, Arhen, Naeb, and the Volf arrived at an open field. The air was heavy, and the black clouds in the sky were so deep that they seemed to turn day into night. The plant's light began to dim. As if some force was suppressing it, Naeb said, "This is the place where the center of darkness lies. Here, you will face the Shadow Man, the Castle of Shadows." In the middle of the fields stood a terrifying castle, made of smoke and shadows. Its doors opened on their own, as if waiting for Arhen as they entered. Lines of shadows ran across every wall. Arhen took careful steps, but suddenly the doors slammed shut behind them. Naeb and the Volf were with him, but the shadows pushed them aside. The Shadow Man appeared, this time. The fire in his eyes burned even brighter. "I warned you, boy. Bringing light here was your greatest mistake. This castle is the heart of darkness. No light can survive here." The clash, Arhen raised the glowing plant in his hands. Its light was still weak, but hope shone bright in his heart. The light may be weak, but it cannot be extinguished. As long as my heart does not fear, darkness cannot win. With those words, the plant burst into brilliance. A faint beam first, then the entire castle was bathed in white light. The Shadow Man roared, his arms turning into smoke as he tried to shield himself from the radiance. Naeb played her rebab, and its melody strengthened the light. The Volf growled and leapt at the shadows of darkness. The battle between light and shadow raged on. Each time darkness seemed to gain the upper hand. Arhen remembered Grandma Zara's words. Some secrets are seen with the eyes, others are understood with the heart. Arhen closed his eyes and prayed from his heart, and suddenly the plant's light shot up to the sky. Victory! The Shadow Man's scream echoed, and he shattered into a cloud of smoke. The castle trembled, walls crumbled, and darkness loosened its grip. When it was all over, the plant in Arhen's hands had grown even larger. Its flowers bloomed like tiny lanterns of moonlight. Naeb smiled and said, "This is the true light, the light of faith and truth. Now, darkness will never harm your village again." Arhen's journey in the heart of the forest. Arhen moved deeper into the forest with his new companion, the Volf. The glowing plant had protected him from many dangers so far, but the forest was far from over. At every step, a strange sense of fear lurked. Whispers seemed to rise from the roots of the trees, or shadows flickered in the wind. The helpful girl. One day, Arhen noticed a girl sitting in a secluded corner of the forest. In her hands, she held a rebab, a vina-like instrument, and was playing a soft melody. As he approached, he learned her name, Naeb. She was a native of the forest. Yet unlike anyone else, Naeb said, "I have seen you from afar. The light you carry spreads its fragrance throughout this forest." Darkness is chasing you, but I can show you the secret paths of the woods. As the melody from her bab filled the air, the leaves of the trees began to sway, revealing a glowing path between them. Arhen was grateful another companion had joined his journey. But as they ventured deeper into the forest, darkness began to show its power. Suddenly, black smoke rose, and from it emerged a towering figure. His face was hidden, with only his eyes visible, eyes burning like embers. He spoke, "I am the Shadow Man. This forest belongs to me. The light you possess has been imprisoned in my darkness for centuries. Return it, or neither you nor your village shall ever find peace." Nayab stepped back, and the wolf growled in anger. Arhen felt fear too, but he looked at his glowing plant, which shone even brighter. Summoning his courage, Arhen replied, "This light belongs to no one. It is for everyone. No matter how deep the darkness grows, the light will always endure." The Shadow Man laughed and vanished into the air. But as he disappeared, he warned, "Remember, boy, on the next night when the moon hides, you will understand the true power of darkness." The journey continues. Arhen knew this was only the beginning. New friends and a dangerous enemy now stood before him. Nayab and the wolf were by his side, and the plant's light gave strength to his heart. Yet he also knew that to move forward, he would have to find the root of the darkness, or the village would be lost forever. The next morning, when the sun rose, the people of the village were anxious. The fields were dry, the animals were anxious, and everyone seemed to have cast a shadow over the village. It contained only a piece of bread, a sprinkle of water given by Grandma Zara, and the seed of the little conifer that had now grown into a small plant and was scattering light. Then he put his hand on his head and said, "Remember, my son, the journey will not be easy. You will pass through the hardness of the mountains, the depths of the rivers, and the darkness of the forest. But when your heart is weak, see the light of this plant, it will guide you." All the children looked at him from behind the trees. Some were afraid, some were shocked, but there was no hesitation at the feet of Arhen, the mountains of temptation. Then Arhen went to the mountain, where the winds were fierce, and the snow was cold at night. And one night he was asleep on the slopes of the mountain, when he heard a terrible thunder, and in the darkness a large rock was moving towards him. Then he saw the light of the seed, and suddenly the light of the plant became faster and the path of the rock changed. And then the Lord gave thanks and assured his heart that the light was indeed guiding him. The depth of the sea. After the mountain came a wide river. Its waters thundered like storm waves. The bridge was broken and there was no way out. How do I cross? Suddenly the light of the seed began to shine in the water. Small fish began to shine in the water, and they formed a queue as if pointing the way. Arhen dared and stepped into the water. The fish supported him and he crossed the river, the darkness of the forest. Then Arhen came to the thick forest, where the day seemed like night. The branches of the trees were tangled as if they were a prison cell. There were terrible sounds in the forest, sometimes of a cat, sometimes of a wolf. When Arhen sat under a tree at night, two eyes suddenly shone in the darkness. A wolf appeared. Arhen moved a plant forward with a trembling hand. As the light of the plant fell on the wolf, his eyes softened. The wolf came closer and closer, and Arhen realized that he was not an enemy but a leader. The next morning the same wolf walked with Arhen. Now Arhen had a friend in the forest. In the morning, he took the seeds and sowed them in the middle of the soft soil, and the people of the town laughed. "What's this batch going to do? The boy is watching." But there was a peace in Arhen's heart. He believed that the seed would give birth to a secret. For a few days everything was normal. The village worked in the fields. The children played, and Grandma Zara told old stories. But then one night a strange cloud came over the village. The clouds in the sky became as dark as the daylight to swallow. The stars disappeared, and the moon was hidden in the clouds. That night the fields on the edge of the village suddenly began to dry up, and the green fields became yellow and full by morning, and the waters of the river receded, and the cold wind was replaced by heavy and burdensome silence. Some people said, "It's all because of that badge. Arn has placed a curse on us." Then he went to his sown seed in the night. Surprisingly, the soil was lightly shaken there. The seed had taken root, and a small clump came out of it that flickered like a jagnew in the darkness. Then his grandmother came to him, and his voice was heard. "Son, this is only the beginning. When the light takes place in the earth, the darkness becomes mighty to destroy it. This trial shall come to you." The next day another calamity befell the village. The wild animals coming from the mountains suddenly became agitated and began to approach the village. The children began to cry. The women became agitated, and the men began to prepare weapons. But there was one thought in his heart. All this was said by the fairy ... With every light comes a trial. If I lose my courage, the light will be extinguished. That night Arhan decided that he would travel alone to the forest to see where the root of darkness was. The light of the seed would be his guide. The secret of moonlight. Nestled between the mountains was a village called Nurabad. By day, the village appeared simple and quiet, but at night, when the stars scattered across the sky, the entire village would sparkle like a magical picture book. The cool breeze descending from the mountains and the soft murmur of the river brought peace to the heart. The villagers were not wealthy in material terms, but they were rich in heart. A smile graced every doorstep, and a cup of milk was always ready for any guest. Children played all day in the fields and pastures, and in the evenings, they would gather around the elders to listen to old stories. Among these children was a boy named Arhan. He was 12 years old, kind-hearted, and brave. All the children in the village looked up to him as their leader, for he always stepped forward to help others. If someone's toy broke, Arhan would try to fix it. If someone stumbled, he would be the first to run over and lend a hand. At the edge of the village stood an old, The Secret of Moonlight. Nestled between the mountains was a village called Nurabad. By day, the village appeared simple and quiet, but at night, when the stars scattered across the sky, the entire village would sparkle like a magical picture book. The cool breeze descending from the mountains and the soft murmur of the river brought peace to the heart. The villagers were not wealthy in material terms, but they were rich in heart. A smile graced every doorstep, and a cup of milk was always ready for any guest. Children played all day in the fields and pastures, and in the evenings, they would gather around the elders to listen to old stories. Among these children was a boy named Arhan. He was 12 years old, kind-hearted, and brave. All the children in the village looked up to him as their leader, for he always stepped forward to help others. If someone's toy broke, Arhan would try to fix it. If someone stumbled, he would be the first to run over and lend a hand. At the edge of the village stood an old, withered tree. The villagers called it the shadow tree because its branches twisted in strange shapes. And at night, when bathed in moonlight, they cast shadows as if hiding a secret. The children were often afraid to play near it, but Arhan would sit there and wonder, why is this tree so silent? Does it hold a story within? In the village lived an elderly woman, whom everyone called Grandma Zara. She often said to Arhan, "Child, everything has a secret. Some secrets are seen with the eyes, others are understood with the heart." Her words echoed in Arhan's mind again and again. He felt as if Grandma Zara's words were connected to that ancient tree.